Munich, the largest city in southern Germany, is home to a beautiful old town, stunning parks and gardens, impressive palaces and museums, and of course, plenty of opportunities to enjoy Bavarian food and beer. Now we'll show you how we spent 3.5 days in Munich in the summer to help give you some ideas for your own trip. Plus we'll share plenty of tips and practical information along the way. I've also pulled together a written guide and a map of all the places we visited to help give you a sense of where everything is. I'll leave a link in the description below. After checking into our hotel and stepping out into the beautiful warm sunshine, we headed just north of the Old Town to the English Garden, one of the largest city parks in the world. The park was alive with people walking, sunbathing, playing games, swimming, and just making the most of the glorious summer weather. Take in the views from the Monopteros, and watch the daring and super talented surfers at Munich's River Wave. We broke up our time in the park with a beer garden double whammy. First at the lively Chinese Tower Beer Garden, where we also had the classic currywurst, and then at the Lakeside Zee House Beer Garden, which was the perfect spot to relax as the sun was setting. If you don't have time to visit the English Garden on your arrival day, I'll also be sharing an overview at the end of the video of how we'd slightly rejig a 3-day itinerary based on what we learned from our own visit, assuming no extra time after you land in Munich. The plan for our first full day was to explore Munich's Old Town, starting with St. Peter's Bell Tower. The 300 steps to the top are a bit of a slog, but totally worth it for the panoramic views over Munich. When we arrived, not too long after 9 AM, there weren't many people there yet, but I can imagine the stairs wouldn't be much fun if it gets crowded. An easier viewpoint to access in this area is the tower at the new town hall on Marienplatz, where you can take a lift instead up to the viewing platform. Marienplatz is the centuries-old main square in Munich and home to landmarks like the new town hall, the old town hall, which now houses a toy museum, Mary's Column and the fish fountain. It's also where you can watch the Glockenspiel show at 11 AM or 12 PM, with an extra 5 PM performance from March to October. The mechanical clock comes to life with moving figurines, reenacting scenes from Munich's history. Pretty much everyone and their mum stops on the square to see it though, so once you've watched it yourself, you might want to steer clear when the show is on unless you fancy squeezing through the crowds. Right by Marienplatz is the Juliet statue from Munich's partner city Verona, which supposedly will bring you good luck if you touch it. No prizes for guessing where. If you enjoy food markets, then there's a great one right in the heart of the Old Town. With a history spanning over 200 years and more than 100 stalls, the Viktualien Markt offers a variety of fresh produce, meats, cheeses, baked goods and local delicacies. At the market there's a beer garden shaded by chestnut trees. Grab something from one of the stalls, pick up a beer and find a seat. Or if you prefer table service, look for a table with a cloth. Feeling refueled and ready to go, we continued exploring the Old Town. Leaving the market, we passed a church and noticed people walking in, so we popped inside. The interior was light and airy, and a flock of doves was suspended from the beautifully painted ceiling. This isn't the only church worth seeing in the Old Town. Arsamkirche is a tiny 18th century church that's very easy to miss, but its interior is incredibly detailed and ornate. Of course, there's also the Frauenkirche. This is one of Munich's most famous landmarks, with its 99-metre-high twin domes making it the tallest building in the city centre. It's free to go inside, but you could also head up the South Tower for a small fee. You'll probably see people staring at a footprint on the floor, which is said to have been left by the devil stamping his foot in anger. While exploring the Old Town, you might come across a statue of composer Orlando de Lassus, which for some reason has been turned into a shrine to Michael Jackson. I know, I'm confused too. There's a square called Odeonsplatz, which was hosting a festival during part of our visit. In this square you'll find the Feldenhalle, where people were once forced to give the Nazi salute as they passed. However, locals who opposed the Nazis resisted by quietly avoiding the site, taking a nearby alley known as Viscaragasse instead. This alley is now marked with golden cobblestones to honour their silent acts of defiance. Leaving the Old Town, the university is about a 10-minute walk away. As you pass the library, you'll notice visible damage on the wall from World War II, preserved as a reminder of the past. Just outside the university, look down and you'll spot pamphlets embedded in the ground, paying tribute to the White Rose movement, a brave group of student rebels who stood up against the Nazis. Inside, there's a small free exhibition where you can learn more about them, how they protested, what happened to those that were caught, and how the world reacted. That night we had dinner at Wirtshaus in der Au, a Bavarian restaurant known for its dumplings. We really enjoyed the trio of dumplings: spinach with tomato sauce, cheese on a bed of garlicky spinach and paprika, as well as the schnitzel. I'd recommend booking this one in advance if you do want to go because it was really popular. While on the subject of schnitzel, I just want to mention we'd read great things about Andy's Krabblergarten, which has an extensive schnitzel menu. Unfortunately, they were closed during our whole visit, so we couldn't try ourselves, but I still wanted to put it on your radar in case you fancy looking it up. If it turns out to be rubbish, let's just pretend I never mentioned it. The next morning we bought a group day ticket from a ticket machine and took a tram ride to Schloss Nymphenburg. This Baroque palace was the Bavarian monarchy's luxurious summer retreat. Commissioned in the 17th century, it was expanded and embellished over time, evolving into the grand estate it is today. You can pay to visit the palace and museums, or do what we did and just wander the fairy tale gardens for free. If you want to do everything, set aside at least half a day, but even just a walk through the vast gardens can take a couple of hours. There are plenty of benches along the way, so pack a picnic and make the most of it. After spending the morning exploring the grounds and eating our breakfast picnic, we decided to take a break at Hofgarten. Once we realised it would take just as long to walk as it would to get public transport, we decided to go by foot. It was quite a pleasant stroll through pretty tree-lined streets. Hofgarten is the largest beer garden in Munich, and it's home to fallow deer. While we were there, we tried Oberster, which is a salty, creamy Bavarian cheese dip that's perfect with a beer and a pretzel. Originally, we'd planned to use our day ticket to visit Olympia Park and maybe the nearby BMW World. However, the main reason we wanted to go was to go up the Olympia Tower, which was unfortunately closed during our visit. So we changed our minds on the spur of the moment and headed to Wirksviertel Mitte, a former industrial area that we'd read was now transformed into a vibrant hub filled with street art, bars and creative spaces. While it was pretty fun to walk around and look at the street art and stop for a cocktail, in hindsight, since it didn't take us long to explore the small area, I think we'd have been better off sticking to our original plan of visiting Olympia Park and saving Wirksviertel Mitte for an evening, perhaps the same night as Wirtshaus in der Au, since they are on the same side of the city. Later that night we had reservations at a modern Bavarian inn called Service Heidi. While I preferred yesterday's dumplings, Aaron said his pork belly was really good. The next morning we went for a traditional Bavarian breakfast of white sausage, pretzel, sweet mustard and wheat beer. Remember to remove the sausage skin because it's chewy and not meant to be eaten. If you're not feeling quite ready for this breakfast first thing in the morning, you can order it any time before noon. Even though we picked a popular restaurant in the Old Town, there were so many tables that we only had to wait a few minutes without a reservation. At the edge of the Old Town is the Munich Residenz, a palace built for Bavarian royalty. This is the largest city palace in Germany, and we thought it was well worth going inside, even if the outside didn't look too exciting. Take your time exploring the grand halls and lavishly furnished rooms. For us, the highlight was probably walking through the antiquarium, which used to be a dining hall and is now lined with antiques. Here are just a few things we found it useful to know about visiting Munich Residenz. You can visit just the Residence Museum or buy a combination ticket that also includes the Treasury and the theatre. We went for the tickets that covered all three. You can easily spend half a day there if you do buy the combination tickets. We didn't buy our tickets online and queued for about 20 minutes to buy them in person. For a weekend, I don't think 20 minutes is that bad, especially given that we didn't arrive until around 11:30 in the morning. An audio guide is included with your tickets, although there are also guided tours available if you prefer. You also can't take a backpack or a large bag into the residence, but they do have a free cloakroom. After spending over 3 hours at the residence, we took a walk around the flower-filled Hofgarten right next door. Sometimes there are musicians playing in the pavilion, but even if there aren't, it's a lovely spot for a short stroll or to sit on a bench and rest your legs. If you arrived later than we did on the first day, or just didn't feel like visiting the English garden at that point, it's only a short walk from the Hofgarten. So this could be another good time to fit it into your itinerary. As we needed to pop back to our room, we took a small detour to Augustiner-Keller, partly because this was 15 minutes from our hotel, and partly because it was recommended to us by a friend with family in Munich. We loved the huge leafy garden, and the beer was really good. Once back in the Old Town, we decided to try Hofbräuhaus, probably the most well-known beer hall in Munich. We'd read very mixed opinions on whether to go. Some saying it's fun, and others saying it's too much of a tourist trap. But given how well known it is, we decided we wanted to try it for ourselves. This vibrant beer hall has live music and a buzzing atmosphere, and while it is definitely touristy, we were tourists, and I do think it was a fun spot to enjoy a beer, listen to the music, and chats with other visitors. If I were to put together a 3-day itinerary for a first visit based on what we learned during our trip, this is what I'd probably do, especially if it was during the spring or summer. I'll include a written up version of this rejigged itinerary along with the map I mentioned at the start of the video, which you can find linked in the description below. As for where we stayed, we picked our hotel mainly for its location, which was just a few minutes walk from the old town, but also near Central Station, which made it convenient for arriving and leaving by train with our suitcases. Plus it was clean and had good reviews, so it ticked all our boxes for a city break. I'll also leave a link to the hotel in the description. If you have more than 3 days in Munich, then it does make a great base for day trips because of its location and transport options. We went on a day trip to Salzburg, a gorgeous Austrian city surrounded by the Alps and famous for Mozart and the sound of music. While you could do this as part of a guided tour from Munich, if you prefer to go at your own pace, then it is an easy day trip to do by train. In terms of transport, I'd recommend you look into the Bayern ticket, which can be good value if there's more than one of you. I'll link this ticket in the description below, and I'll also link our Salzburg video here if you'd like to see more. Of course, we couldn't fit everything into just a few days, so if you've been to Munich and have a favourite spot that we missed, let us know in the comments so other visitors can check them out. Thanks for watching.